Tonight, as the Trump administration escalates its immigration crackdown, calls are growing to end workplace raids across the country. In Omaha, Nebraska, employees at a meatpacking plant tried to block ICE agents by throwing themselves on top of their car. Now, more than 70 people were still detained in that raid, but here is one supervisor who said what she told them as the chaos unfolded.
We just heard Homeland Security just banging on the door. And I just went inside production and told everybody, hey, immigration is here, start running. So they just started hiding everywhere. And then they found everyone.
Now, even Kim Kardashian is weighing in. She said on social media that she denounces these raids. She wrote, quote, "When we witness innocent, hardworking people ripped from their families in inhumane ways, we have to speak up." The Kim Kardashian of it all might matter to some people, but I think it's really more about what she represents. I mean, first of all, she's not sort of reflexively anti-Trump. She's worked with him before on criminal justice reform. But the stories are starting to break through. I mean, here's one of them. This is to CNN Today, talking about nannies being arrested. Two nannies who Millara knows are in ICE detention after they were handcuffed in a public park where they had taken children to play. She said, quote, "There is no sensitivity, no emotions, no concern about repercussions. Going into a park with other kids is just another level. The nannies are running, nannies trying to escape, dragging the kids because they have no option," Millara said.
I just want to point out something that we didn't get to in the last block, which is part of why this is happening is because, and the majority of Americans have said, we can all agree that illegal immigration is a problem. We can agree we should be going after violent criminals. But the way he's doing it, the inhumanity. I mean, if you're going after a nanny at a park, when you pick up that nanny, what happens to that child? And we're seeing families being separated. We're seeing instances where the parents are being taken into custody by ICE and the child is being put into the system instead of saying, let's contact that child's caregiver to make sure that child can be in a safe place. It's the inhumanity and the demonizing. And the other point, because you get loud and I can't get as loud as you can.
I sat back when you said, hold on, I just sat back and said, all right.
But I think that, the other, so that's the piece of this that we have to acknowledge. Part of the reason that someone like Kim Kardashian is weighing in, or part of the reason you see, even fairly conservative communities saying, wait a second, this is what we thought was going to happen, is because they look at these folks who have been there 10 and 15 years and they're saying, well, isn't there a more humane way to do this? Is it right to actually take people into custody when they have a green card? How about the Afghan soldier who was just arrested
that's another case. This was an Afghan soldier who was in a parole process. And I think, Abel, I want you to respond to this because you mentioned a lot of Latinos who are in the country who are in a process and they're waiting for their turn. Well, in some of these cases, what we're also seeing now is that they're going to their hearing as part of their process. They're being instructed, the immigration judges are being instructed to allow the lawyers for the government to just simply dismiss the case so they can be arrested outside the doors. So we know that that's happening to people who are in the process. Some of these people may have been in this country for decades. They did not come in this last wave in the Biden administration. That's part of what we're seeing, too. And I wonder how you see that, where I think a lot of this is happening in your state.
First of all, Abby, I feel like this is just overblown and overgrown and people get excited and because it's Donald J. Trump.
What's overblown?
What I'm saying is people just get excited and they get so much anger because it's Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump in his first term deported 1.5 million people. So far, he has deported 160,000 people since he became president again. Barack Obama deported 5.3 million people.
Yeah,
in 8
I
years.
totally take your point.
But it's because it's Donald J. Trump. If it was Barack Obama, it's okay.
But no, not just that. I think to Karen's point, she's making a point about the tactics here. And I think I agree with you in one sense. The Trump administration finds outrage extremely useful. That's one of the reasons why, for example, DHS posted this on X today. It's a poster that says, "Help your country and yourself, report all foreign invaders." They are trying to get a rise out of people. However, the tactics are different. The numbers are different. 23% of all arrests are non-criminals. That is way more than it normally is.
And Abel, I think it's just flat out wrong here in that comparison. I see a lot of people make that comparison. You didn't have Barack Obama's DHS secretary playing action hero on the streets with the DHS, and then tweeting about it. We weren't sending people to El Salvador, right? And you weren't evading legitimate court orders. We're opening Guantanamo Bay next week to house illegal immigrants. I mean,
5 million people.
But yeah, I hear you.
Yes.
And he was the deporter. He got the name deporter in chief for a reason.
Yep.
But you brought up. But you brought up.
No,
I'm saying that it's different. And I'm also saying this. I'm saying what you're highlighting is that on the watch of Democrats under Barack Obama and now Republicans, you have a broken immigration system.
Completely.
But the fact is, you can't sit here and just say that Mike Johnson and whoever the leader of the leader of the Senate is now and Donald Trump, this doesn't rest at their feet. I mean, the majority of the individuals who are here illegally overstayed a visa.
Not a majority anymore, but at one time
it was the individuals who overstayed their visa, right? We have to fix the border. We have to create. You just deported, or he self-deported, the largest TikTok star in the world who didn't hurt anybody, right? I mean, he was at the Met Gala just recently. And so our immigration system is broken. But what you don't hear from Republicans in the House, the Senate, or the President of the United States is legitimate legislation to pass and fix this problem. In fact, it's crickets.
And he's got both houses of Congress. So if there was an aspiration to do something like that, he very well could. In a lot of cases, I think the Trump administration is interested in the spectacle. When Kristi Noem goes and she makes an ad about illegal immigration and she's saying, hey, you get $1,000 if you leave the country, but you better go because we're coming for you. She's making those ads in English. Those are for Trump voters. They are not actually directed at the illegal immigrant population. There is an element of theater here. And are some people more hysterical because it's Donald Trump? Undoubtedly, that is a part of the story. But he's also fine with that. I don't think he's upset about it.
I want to give Batya a chance to get in here because you haven't spoken yet.
Trying to be a good girl.
Well, I do, and I appreciate that. I mean, I do wonder. Again, just like with the protests, it's a question of tactics. Not even really, I don't think people are even disagreeing with the broad objective, particularly on the criminal side, but the tactics of just sweeping everybody up. And we know that those tactics are there because of reporting, particularly in the Wall Street Journal, that Stephen Miller went to ICE and said, you're not moving fast enough, just go to the Home Depots and sweep them all up. So that causes outrage, but it also it instigates communities in a way that we are now seeing the results of now.
So again, according to a CNN poll, 54% of Americans, and according to a CBS poll, 57% of Americans want every illegal migrant deported. It's not a majority want the criminals, a majority want every single one. That is the mandate that Donald Trump believes he was given. Immigration was the top reason people voted for him. Kim Kardashian hates this because she is rich, like the people who employed those nannies. Rich people are now the base of the Democratic Party. They are the employers of low-wage labor. They love illegal migration because they get to pay their nanny less than they would have to pay an American. So, of course, they are very upset that their jobs program of an open border is coming to an end. Working-class people see this as a lifeline because they are still represented as the majority in every industry. I just want to make that point. There is not a single industry in the United States that is not done a majority by American citizens. There is no job that is beneath the dignity of Americans.
Well,
there are jobs
a lot more Americans than there are illegal immigrants. So that is also true.
It's an insult to the American worker to say to them, these are jobs that Americans don't want to do. When millions of Americans are doing those jobs.
Like there are more Americans in the country. So yes, there are going to be more Americans doing everyday jobs. I mean, it's an overwhelming number of Americans versus immigrants.
There's also tens of millions of Americans who've left the labor force and aren't working in the Trump administration.
Karen, a quick last word, and then we have to go.
Well, and I will just take us back to last year when we were talking about about a town in Ohio where the president spread a false rumor about Haitian migrants eating cats and dogs, which was a total lie. And do you know why those migrants were there? Because the factories that were there could not find anyone to take the jobs. The white,
For those
no,
wages.
no. The working class
those
white
wages.
The working class white people wouldn't do the jobs.
For those wages.
No.
I don't.
Wouldn't.
I mean,
so
well, let me just say, I don't
looking for
know
migrant
that
labor.
They could pay much less. Yes, I agree with you.
I mean, you're suggesting. I mean, just to be clear, you're suggesting, and I think not incorrectly, that if they simply raise the wages, more Americans would do the jobs. That is probably true, just in a macroeconomic way. But no. But let me just be clear about one other aspect of this. There is a skill gap that exists in a lot of these industries that wage increases are not going to resolve. So you have to factor that in too. And I think in the case of that Ohio town, the wages was not the issue.
Are you for
you're being disingenuous because on the one hand, you're right. You can agree that we want to get people who are violent criminals, immigrants out. However, the second part of both the polls you cited, people don't like the way he's doing it. And politically, what's interesting, he thinks he's winning right now, and we're about to have tanks rolling through Washington, D.C. What is that going to do to our psyche when we see that and we see that on our streets?
I think that it's very important in politics to remember that, first of all, polls are a moment in time. Public opinion shifts and it changes. And we should all be aware that Donald Trump and his aides believe that they have these mandates. But that could always change. And I think that's one of the things that we have to figure out where this is going to land as all of this plays out. You're seeing scenes from the streets of Los Angeles right now. We're watching what is happening on the ground everywhere. We'll take you back there to the ground where the LAPD just declared an unlawful assembly outside of City Hall. We're just minutes away now from that curfew in LA. We'll be right back.